Julie, are you there?
Just one moment. We're making sure we're live. All right, we're ready. Go ahead and take it away, Ian.
Okay. Everyone, welcome to the Mendocino Historic Review Board meeting of March 1st. This meeting is called to order. Staff, can you please read the participation information for this meeting?
Absolutely.
Virtual meeting.
The Mendocino Historical Review Board meetings are conducted virtually and not available for in-person public participation. Meetings are live streamed and available for viewing on the Mendocino County YouTube page at www.youtube.com/Mendocino County Video. In order to minimize the risk of exposure during this time of emergency, the public may participate digitally in meetings by sending comments to pbscommissions@mendocinocounty.org or orally via telecomment in lieu of personal attendance. All public comment will be made immediately available to the board, staff, and the general public as they are received and processed by staff and can be viewed as attachments to the meeting agenda. All requests for telecomment must have been received by 10 a.m. this morning.
So if requested to speak under public expression, please call in now. We thank you for your understanding during this difficult time, and thank you for your continued interest. Our agenda item number 2 is roll call. Before we get there, I'm going to want to welcome our newest board member, Holly Madrigal. And under the report from the chair, I'm going to ask her to present a little bio of herself. So staff, can you please conduct roll call?
Yes, board member Madrigal. Here. Board member Kapler.
Here.
Board member Saunders.
Here.
And Chair Roth.
And present.
Thank you. All are present.
Thank you. So we're 4 out of 5. We're getting better.
Mm-hmm.
Agenda item number 3, determination of legal notice. Has proper notice been established?
Yes, all items have been properly noticed.
Okay. Our standard item number 4 would be approval of minutes, but we have no minutes for adoption at this time.
We will have that on the next agenda.
I know February is a short month, right?
Yeah.
Item number 5 is correspondence. Has any correspondence been received for items not on the posted agenda?
We have none.
Thank you. Up to 6, going through these things blazing quick. Report from chair. I don't have anything to report other than I guess I got 2 items. One, we are 4 seats. We do have 4 members. We do have 5 seats. If you or anyone knows of anyone living within the district who you'd like to poke and prod and ask to serve on our board, 5 is a lot healthier than 4. If we end up getting in a 2-2 vote, then it fails. Having 5 gives you a natural majority minority, or obviously the full vote. So please encourage anyone to come out and put an application in. The second piece on that would be welcome Holly Madrigal. Thank you for filling in and providing this wonderful public service. And if you wouldn't mind, give us a few minutes about your who you are and what your interests are.
Well, thank you so much for having me. Yes, so I am a new resident in Mendocino. I bought my house just like in January, so I'm a very new resident, but I didn't travel far. I've been renting in Fort Bragg for the past 2 years. And previous to that, I grew up and was raised in the Willits area. I participated in local politics. I was on the Willits City Council for 12 years. So some people may have heard my name because Joe Rogowski does the news reports on KOZT. And so he would talk about what we were doing at the city of Willits. Yeah, I served three terms as mayor of Willits. I have deep roots in this community in Mendocino County generally. And so I tend to like to get involved in things. So I'm really pleased to be able to be part of the Historical Review Board and to serve and give back in that way. Currently, I'm working from home. I'm the director of the Leadership Mendocino program, which is a program of NCO, which is basically a master's class in Mendocino County. That's how I describe it. It's a course for adults to travel around Mendocino County and learn about the issues that we're facing, as well as networking. Just over 700 people have gone through that program to date. We had to take a hiatus for this year because we couldn't have an in-person class, and really physically traveling around our geographic area is such a critical part of the program. But we have been meeting the needs of our alumni in this year. So we are still going on. And recently I've taken on an interim position as the director of the volunteer network. So we've been helping provide volunteers for the vaccine effort. So that's what I've been doing locally. Definitely stays busy. I stay busy, but I'm also as far as my bona fides, I built a straw bale house in Northspur. I don't know if you guys know where Northspur is, halfway between Willits and Fort Bragg on the skunk train line. That was in my past, and I'm also a member of the Historic Society, the Mendocino County Historic Society. So I've been part of that, a member of that for some time as well. So thank you guys for having me.
Actually, glad to have you here. Real quick plug for Leadership Mendocino. When does that cycle start? And if someone's interested, how would they get involved in terms of being in the program?
Yes, so it's one Friday a month. You can go to leadershipmendocino.org. I believe will get you to our website. The class will start, people will need to be applying in June. The class will start at the end of August and September, and it's one Friday a month that you need to be able to commit to traveling all over. We take that one Friday and we pack it full of visits and learning experiences. So yeah, so feel free to reach out to me if you have any interest in, being updated when we're going to be starting those.
Thank you. Brings us to item number 7, which is public expression. The board welcomes participation in board meetings. Comments should be limited to 3 minutes per person and not more than 10 minutes for a proposed item on a subsequent agenda so that everyone may be heard. Items of public expression are limited to matters under the jurisdiction of the board, which are not on the posted agenda, and items which have not already been considered by the board. No action will be taken on these items. Do we have any requests for telecomment under public expression?
We do not.
We're gonna have to scare the public into being more involved in this. Our agenda item number 8 is consent calendar, and I believe we have no consent items. Which brings us to our regular calendar, agenda item 9A, case MHRB 2020-0018. This is a request for a sign change on Lansing Street, which used to be Big River Realty, to becoming Engel and Volkers. Have we had any correspondence or telephone calls received related to this item?
None. Excuse me. Go ahead, Juliana.
No, we have not received any public comment.
Okay. Would staff present the application, please?
Sure, be delighted to. This is a Mendocino Historical Review Board request to install a 1 foot by 3 foot sign with a white background, black letters, and red ampersand reading Engel and Volkers. And also to install a similar sign that is 37 by 8 inches over the entrance to the business. They want to further remove a planter box and install a table and bike rack and paint the building white with black trim. There have been some previous permits issued at this location, including some sign permits. We're asking the review board to consider materials, textures, colors, the size of the signs, the number of the signs, because they're asking for 2, and the placement and location of the sign, as well as the bike rack and table. The applicant has provided a statement which is included in the application on page 2 of the staff report. And staff is recommending the review board consider our regular findings and standard conditions. There are 9 recommended in the staff report, and staff would like to suggest 1 additional condition. it's a condition that we usually include when a sign is proposed. This sign, we're recommending that condition 10 be added, and it could read, this permit is for this sign, is valid only as long as this business is conducted at this location. The review board reserves the right to consider all aspects of any future changes to the sign, including size. I apologize, I neglected to include it in the staff report. There's also a recommendation regarding sign lighting, condition number 8, which we've frequently recommended previously. And condition number 9 in the staff report on page 3 has to do with exterior colors. They are recommending colors from the Benjamin Moore Historical Collection and Off-White Collection. That is an option in addition to the white and black that they're proposing. That concludes staff's presentation. If you have other questions, I am available to assist.
Clarification. How is condition number 10 different from number 5? You're muted.
Yeah, just let me look for a moment.
Sure.
You're right, they are exactly the same.
Okay.
So when I was reviewing the staff report last week when it was published, I thought I didn't see the standard condition and prepared that memo. Thank you for
you undid yourself.
at it again.
Well done. Thank you. I see a couple. Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, I don't know how to unraise my hand. Okay, there we go. With the bike rack, is the only description of the bike rack that, like, sort of the sketch of that, it sort of shows like a it sort of shows like, probably, I imagine, a metal C-shaped bike rack. I mean, do we know if this is just sort of like a placeholder?
This is what I expect it to look like. This is what the applicant has told us it would look like, but we can certainly ask the applicant after staff's presentation that question as well.
Great,
So what we'll, process-wise, what we'll do is we're going to ask the applicant to make a presentation, and then we'll open up the public hearing, and then when we close the public hearing, we're then going to open it back to the board to ask questions of both the staff and the applicant. We'll have a discussion within our board. But that's fine. We're pretty chill out here, so don't worry. So I see there's 2 new faces. I see a Rick Sachs and Scott Voorhees. That would be for the applicant presentation.
Yes, that's correct.
Please go ahead. Can the applicant please present the project?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Ah, cool. Okay. I am representing the applicant for the sign part, and Scott would like to make comment on the table and umbrella and bike rack.
Great.
There's one thing that I heard Juliana say that I don't think was quite what we want to do. I think I heard Juliana mention that the planter box was going to go away. And the planter box will remain just like it is, and the posts that hold the sign are an integral part of the planter box. So it's keeping the planter box and posts that have been existing for many years, and just adding a new sign in between it with some framing above and below. And my customer would like a red ball, a wooden ball painted red on a globe on the top of each post. So that's all I see. That the sign's black and white with red ampersands and paint on wood. And there's the little one over the door, and the 3 square foot double face sign over the planter box.
Okay.
Do you
Yeah,
have
Mr.
any questions for me.
maybe Mr. Voorhees can clarify. I think the planter box was going to be removed, be the one that was up against the building, not the one that was by the sidewalk.
That's correct. It was the one up
Right,
against the building, and
yes.
it was found out that that one was rotting, and it was also causing the building to rot. So the landlord was adamant that he wanted to get that off there.
Okay, go ahead and proceed. Mr. Voorhees, was there something else you wanted to?
Oh, sure. I'm
talk
sorry.
about?
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for
Yeah.
permitting me to speak with you today.
Sure.
We are a licensed partner of Engel & Volkers. It was founded in Hamburg, Germany in 1970. Our work is to provide a bespoke and white glove experience for our clients in the community in regards to real estate ventures in the area. Part of this recognition of our office, which we call shops, and is located in 948 locations around the globe and 234 locations in the United States. Travelers from throughout the country and the world will recognize this, the trustful and the tasteful Engel & Volkers name and design, which provides a touch of European culture. Our signature red balls and our signs, a dog bowl out in front, a table and chairs to relax or do business, and a bike rack in case you are traveling by bike to visit our shop. The clean white building with simple black trim provides an unobtrusive storefront, and in a like manner, we want to fit in with the local culture and not disrupt the ambiance of Mendocino. For me personally, I'm a notary public for the community, and since the start of COVID, I have not felt comfortable meeting inside the office and exchanging items with members of the community in close quarters to fulfill that responsibility. I'm hopeful that an exterior table and chairs will provide me the opportunity again to start providing that service to the community. Anybody have any questions about all that? Thank you.
We'll be coming back to that for you, or with you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Voorhees. We're now opening public hearing. Do we have any members of the public wishing to comment on this project?
We have no requests for telecomment for this item.
Thank you very much. Okay, now I bring it back to the board where we can ask questions of staff or the applicant. And let's start with Chair Member Kapler, if that's okay.
I don't have any problems with this request, and I don't have any questions.
Okay, Chair Member Saunders.
I noticed there's a second sign, and I think if I read the requirements, there's only supposed to be one sign per business. I'm not sure why that is, but I looked around the town, and that's generally the case. I wondered why the second sign, and if that's a problem.
It's not a problem. It was just a request. Part of our standard design throughout the world is to have the sign over the door when you enter the business. We were lucky enough that the Big River Realty before had a very prominent sign out in front of the building, and we're fine if we cannot have the second one, just to have that one out front.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not sure the rationale. I mean, I wasn't there when that rule was written. Maybe Juliana or someone would comment about why we do that.
I think we're trying to keep the signage to a minimum so that you don't get inundated with advertising.
Yeah, no, like I said, I looked around. It is unusual. And then I guess my other question, I think you just answered, which is this about the same size as the previous sign? I think you just said yes.
It's the same size.
No,
Yes. No. I'm sorry, Rick. Sorry.
no, it's a lot smaller.
Oh, okay.
I think the previous sign was 6 square feet, and this one's half the size.
Okay. That answers that question. Those are my only two questions. Although, like Holly, I was interested in the bike rack, and maybe we can get to that one too. How accurate that is.
Would you like to address that now?
I don't have an exact design for that at this point. Maybe that's something I could provide later on when I get that from the people that would be installing it and creating it. I don't have that.
If staff may, through the chair,
Yes,
we do
please.
allow a 6 square foot sign. So the applicant is proposing a sign that is less large than the maximum amount that we would allow at a location.
Good.
And just to piggyback on that, is that's 6 foot square total, right?
Yes.
So if it's 1 by 3 on one side and it's 1 by 3 on the other side, then that's 6 feet, right?
Oh,
I don't think I would calculate it that way. I would consider that a double faced 3 square foot sign.
Okay.
But
Board
the
member,
sign over the door is something that the review board needs to discuss and agree upon. It isn't, the intent is to have one sign per business.
thank you.
Sure.
Chair Member Madrigal, comments, questions, thoughts?
Yeah, I was curious about the bike rack, but that wouldn't impede my ability to make a decision today. I mean, I would be more than happy to, when that gets developed, to find out more information about that later.
Great. And I'm sorry, I have someone with a weed trimmer out in my yard right now. It just gives a little bit of noise, background noise, so that's not too annoying. I did do a little bit of research, and that's off of Google Maps, and that's what it currently looks like. I think it's great that we have a new business coming in. I much prefer that over empty businesses. My thoughts are, there currently is not a sign over the doorway, and I prefer less advertising than more. I understand that might be a standard for the other shops, but I'm more inclined to just keep that one very prominent sign out front that everyone's used to looking at as they go by, and limit it to the one sign. And that's, I'm glad you're moving in. I like the patio furniture. I'm a big cyclist myself, so I like the rack there. So I guess the big question at this point is, it sounds like we're all okay with this, and the only question is one versus two signs. So I've weighed in. Is there anyone else wants to discuss or weigh in and give me their thoughts?
Can I just say something about the two signs issues? It just seems to me that we've got so many places throughout the town where you've got two signs. So this is something, this idea is something that's more honored in not being followed than actually in being followed. So I just didn't have a problem with the two signs, especially since the second sign is really quite a small sign. So I could go with the two signs, but if the rest of the board wants to just have one sign, that's okay with me too.
I would support the application as written with two signs.
Yeah, I don't really have a problem with either. It's just something I noticed. So, and I just did a quick whip round. I actually didn't find one with the second sign involved, but I'm sure you know the town better than I do. So I'll take that as me missing something.
Okay, so is there a motion on the floor?
Well, I'll make a motion to approve MHRB request 2020-0018, subject to the standard conditions that are set out in the staff report.
I'll second.
Thank you. Staff, would you like to call for a roll vote?
Absolutely. So Board Member Madrigal,
Yes.
Board Member Kapler,
Aye.
Board Member Saunders,
Aye.
and Chair Roth.
I'm going to say nay because I want it to go forward, but I just don't think that we need the second sign, but I don't want to stop them.
Well, with that, since we do have 4 members, the motion does still pass with Chair Roth dissenting.
Thank you. And best of luck, Mr. Voorhees. We welcome you to town.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your time today.
You bet.
Aye.
Okay. So we're now to item 9B, which is a continuation case number MHRB 2020-0015, the Mendocino Unified School District. We have before us, we're going to have a plethora of members. Good, we've got the whole team back again. A little bit of background for anyone who's watching this, who and my phone just got a call and I'm ignoring it. I just want to make sure everyone can still hear.
Yes,
Okay.
we can hear you.
Good, okay. So we heard the whole process of what the Mendocino Unified School District, the high school, is planning going forward. It's an amazingly huge plan, which is great. they decided to pare it down and continue it. So what's before us is just the main building, and they're going to come back for separate phases for additional buildings. This last Thursday, the 4 board members, including myself, board member Madrigal and I met at the school district and got a tour of the proposed changes. And then just after that, board members Saunders and Kapler went to go on tour. The reason we split it in half is because we didn't want to violate the Brown Act. So we can't have more than half. You have to have less than half of the board members present at any given time. So that's why that went twice. So now what we're going to have is going to come back for just the main building. So would staff like to make a presentation of the scope and what's going on?
Well, I think you've largely captured it there, and thank you for that introduction. But really, the direction was from the February 1st MHRB meeting. The board had directed the applicants to really focus on phase 1 of the proposed project, which is the main campus building. And so what you see in the memorandum that staff prepared, which is on the website and was sent out to review board members as well, is you see the first attachment, attachment A, includes the discussion from the applicants as to the materials and why they are unable to comply with certain criteria of the historic guidelines. And that's attachment A again. Attachment B is the revised plans. And I want to be clear, it's not that they're revised, it's just focused on phase 1 of the project. So it's a little different from the original staff report. And then the third attachment is more informational, and that's the cultural resources study, as well as the categorical exemption information. So with that, I'm glad that everyone was able to visit the site. I know that was something important to be able to get your eyes on the ground for it. And staff still, I really don't have additional analysis to provide. I think this is really going to be a discussion amongst the review board and how you fall in some of the additional information provided. And we do have representatives of the application available on the line today.
And I'm sorry, I was out of order here. Do we have any correspondence or telephone calls that were received related to this item?
No, we do not. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. My apologies. I was out of order. So thank you for that report. Appreciate it. Would the applicant like to kick off the presentation?
Well, we have no presentation this time. This is Darcy Kremen from Rincon Consultants. We did the sequel work, the architectural review, historic review, and Mark Quattrochi, who's the architect leading the team there and able to answer questions from the board today. So no formal presentation from us.
Okay, well, thank you for making yourselves available. Since we don't have any members of the public wishing to discuss this, we're going to skip past the public hearing.
Excuse me, Chair Roth, yeah. Sorry. We do have members that submitted a telecomment request form, so I would like to turn over to them. It just wasn't written or a telephone call. My apologies for that miscommunication.
No, that's fine. So this is a point. The public hearing is declared open. This is a point where we're going to address any telecommenters that have submitted their form and waiting on the line. And I'll turn, here you go. So when called to speak, this is for the people who wish to comment. When called to speak, please state your name for the record. Public comment is limited to 3 minutes per person. Speakers are asked to please address their comments to the meeting chair and myself, and to refrain from using profanity or engaging in conversation with the members of our audience or staff. The clerk will announce when you have 30 seconds remaining. So would you like to, Juliana, would you like to begin this process?
Yes, so the first telecomment request we have is from someone named Cyrus, and I'm going to bring them over now. Cyrus, you are now in the meeting, so please unmute yourself when you're ready, and I will start your time once you begin speaking, and I'll announce when you have 30 seconds remaining.
Thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Cyrus Croninger. As a lifelong resident of Mendocino and graduate of Mendocino High School, I'm excited about the proposed renovations and improvements to the high school campus. I'm responsible for maintaining a historic landmark facility outside the town of Mendocino and understand the requirements of maintaining the historic look and feel of the buildings within the town as well. I appreciate the work that has been done by numerous board members and the public to preserve the historic feel of Mendocino. I would like to express my support for the high school renovation project in total but in particular, the wisdom of choosing more durable building products for the exterior siding and windows while maintaining the appearance of more traditional wood materials. The high school is situated in one of the most exposed areas within the town, possibly only matched by the Community Services District buildings, which were allowed to use plywood siding and metal windows due to the harsh environment to which they are exposed. Both of these facilities are government owned and taxpayer funded, and therefore must be as efficient with the public funds as possible. The ongoing maintenance of wood siding and windows at the high school would seem wasteful, as it would require almost constant painting and weatherproofing, and even then would only last 15 to 20 years at best. Excuse me. In reviewing the renderings, I am pleased that the boxy stucco walls of the mid-century design, which are not in keeping with any design aesthetics within the town, are being replaced with a peaked roof and durable horizontal siding made to look like wood. It is obvious that the designers have carefully considered the prominent location of the school within the Historic Preservation District and created a durable structure that will stand up to the elements, yet also fit into the character of the town. I urge you to grant the district's request to allow for the use of cement board siding and metal windows as proposed in the high school renovation project. Thank you all for your time.
Thank you, Cyrus.
All right, and we had one other individual asking to speak. However, I do not see that they are actually on the line here. So I do see we have John, but it looks like that's representing the application. I see that as agent listed. So I don't believe we have any other telecomment requests at this time. If you are on the line and wish to speak under telecomment, please use the raise your hand feature and I can pull you into the meeting. And I'm seeing no hands going up. So I think we can keep going forward and I'll just let you know if we see the other telecommenter come into the meeting.
Okay, thank you. And I was going to approach, is it Quad? Mark, how do you spell your last name?
Mark.
Mark, got it.
Mark.
Quattrochi, but please, Mark's a lot easier.
Okay, I know that you drafted a memo and we did receive it. I was going to ask you to go over, give us a couple highlights of it. It looks like Mr. Croninger did a great job of doing that for you. Is there anything else you wanted to add about your memo to the board?
No, I think it speaks well for itself. The one thing I think that is worth pointing out, and I appreciate the previous speaker, is the nature of public schools across California are different. And that certainly doesn't change even being in the community of Mendocino. So the issues around the maintenance is such an imperative to the way we design schools. And as I've shared before, it's all my firm does. And we've gotten very good at this, particularly on the coast. So it was with a great deal of consideration when we made this request for these two items, trying our best. I hope you can see in all the other places that we could, whether they were using wood benches and other places where maintenance wasn't as much of an issue, complying with lighting and colors, and in fact, improving the proportions of the building. All those things take into account, sort of looking holistically at this to allow this deviation from the guidelines, though consistent and frankly better than what's out there right now, aluminum windows. So thank you again for the opportunity to present that case.
Thank you. All right, we're going to close public comment and hearing. We're going to bring it back to the board. Is there anyone who wants to start with comment on this?
I will if you want.
Sure.
So thank you very much, by the way, for the tour. That was really interesting. I had been up there myself and was glad to be sort of walked around it. It was really good. I guess I accept and think it's the right thing to do with the siding. I don't have a problem with that. I mean, we saw an example. It looks really realistic, and knowing Otto's budget, it seems like that whole thing is the right thing to do. So I don't have a problem with that at all. In fact, I don't have a problem with the thing in general because I think it's a tremendous improvement. There were one point of clarity, I guess, I wanted to make sure we did record was the renderings tend to show the solar panels on the roof, and I think we're going to treat the solar panels as a separate item later. We discussed that, so I think that needs to be recorded somewhere. And I think Tobin said this, but I don't know whether it's in our remit or not, but it would be a real shame if somebody didn't document the murals before they took them off the side of the walls. So I don't know whether that's in our remit to request that or not, but that's just a comment from me.
I think you just did.
Okay, all right, I did. And I guess it looked like there was a lot of additional lighting on the pathway, the driveway up, that isn't there now. And it's good lighting. It fits in. It's, you know, all approved and everything, as we discussed. And I think Otto said, or maybe it was Mark, that those things are all on timers. So I don't think that'll be a problem, but I'd like to make sure I'd like to request that we make sure that they can be turned on and off, so they aren't on all night if the neighbors complain, which they are quite close to some of the other houses. So those are my only comments, really.
Good points. Thank you. Anyone else?
Sure. I've got a number of comments. First of all, we are concentrating today on the issue of the main building only. And I want to make very sure that we come back to the issues, especially of the solar panels and the MCN building at a future session of the board. I can basically agree with the arguments that Mr. Quattrochi put forth in his memorandum. I see the reasons why we should deviate from our guidelines in this case. I want to get a couple of points in that we need to clarify. One is the materials that the roof will be made of. Also, the question of the building colors. I think we need to make clear that we're talking about the Benjamin Moore Historical Collection colors here. And when we had our site visit, I was told that the new lights around the campus would be, and I think there are about 15 or 16 of them, would be exactly the same as the street lights that we have in Mendocino now. And I'm very much in favor of that. Also, when we got the tour, we talked about the gazebo, and apparently the gazebo is going to be torn down because for some reason it doesn't meet California earthquake standards. And I'd really wonder if we can revisit that idea. It seemed to me to be an incredibly solid structure, and I found it hard to believe that this gazebo couldn't be maintained somehow or braced up or whatever it's necessary to do to it. It's quite a beautiful little structure right now. The final point on with regard to the main building is a comment that I received from a neighbor just recently, and the neighbor suggested that perhaps there should be more of a nod to the Victorian nature of our town in the design of the main building. She specified that she thought perhaps the entranceway, the main entrance, might have a simplified gable ornament, and that the gable could be somewhat steeper, and that the lettering, the high school lettering that's indicated, could be less institutional and more vintage. And I'm just putting that out there as something for us to consider. I think they're actually quite decent ideas. That's it for now. I've got some other things later, but I think that's enough to chew on for right now.
Thank you. Board Member Kapler. Ms. Madrigal. Thoughts, comments, questions?
So yeah, I was able to observe part of the last meeting. So I appreciate you guys helping me come up to speed with the site visit. That was very helpful. I am persuaded by the fact that this is a public institutional building, and that I do think that this is a visual improvement from what's there currently. And so I'm really, I thought the memo was well put, that, you know, that there is already an existing structure that has these kind of materials that's in a public, the public facilities are just a different ball of wax when it comes to these things. So I do think that it will be a significant visual improvement. And I just walked around this earlier today before this meeting. And when you're in town on this side, it's really not especially visible, but it is certainly very visible from the, you know, from the headlands side. So I think that making those improvements on those facades will really add to it more than they are now. And I am somewhat persuaded by the ongoing maintenance costs for a facility of this size and this type, you know, being a school. So that's basically where I'm at this point, that I was persuaded by the memo in terms of the variance on the materials.
Thank you. Of course, now the blower's going.
It's not that bad. It's not that loud. It's fine.
Good.
Hard to hear it.
It is to me. That's okay. Anyway, thank you for all your thoughtful comments. And thank you for applicants for going forward with this. I really appreciate it. And Mark, the memo is very well written. I think the biggest question we have here is this request for a waiver. And I think it's slightly ironic that they don't want to create a precedence. However, they're using another building as precedence. So, but I understand, as Board Member Madrigal, I was going to say it's a different animal. She said ball of wax, but yeah, it's different thing. The couple points that Mark made in the memo that I think should be relayed to the public is that, well, there's the maintenance issue. You also talked about fire safety and that you want to keep the kids safe and do something as fire resistant as possible. It's also brought up that it is the emergency center for town. So we want to sort of keep that in mind. So if we need to retreat to somewhere, that we have somewhere left to retreat to. And then the last piece that was in the memo that was very interesting is that when you go and you look at the building, it's got a plethora of pipes and stuff on the roof, and it's a distraction. And what was said in the memo is, should the district be required to retain the existing stucco, all the exposed piping would remain as walls would not be open to conceal them. So I think that's an added bonus. So I think we're getting visually, it's going to look better. We're not going to have the exact materials we want, but we understand why. And I think it's more responsible to actually do this, and we do not want to make it a precedent. So there are a couple other pieces that were mentioned by other board members. Alan mentioned lights on timers. I like that. We're trying to keep our night sky as dark as possible without getting in the way of that. I don't know if it was in the report, but yes, the building colors should be the Benjamin Moore palette. I don't know what we can do about the gazebo. And then off the side, Board Member Holm mentioned that he was approached by someone about a steeper pitch roof in the front and old style lettering. So I'm not sure how the applicant feels about any of that or all of it. But I think we're all sort of in the process of approving. Oh, go ahead, Member Madrigal.
I was just gonna add, I think it's outside of our purview, but I also think it's really a shame to lose that gazebo, seeing as it is dedicated to a shop and store. I understand that there are, with schools, there's the safety criteria, but since it has been existing and has kind of been grandfathered in, I wonder if it couldn't continue to exist. I know that's outside of our scope, but I just want to put in a plug for retaining the gazebo.
Thank you.
And pardon me, Chair Roth, I want to let you know that the other requester for telecomment has now joined the meeting, so I'm unsure if you'd like to go to that additional telecomment request.
Absolutely. I think the more people involved, the better. So go ahead.
Okay,
Thank
so
you.
I'm going to bring over John Walsh, and it appears they have two different connections. So Mr. Walsh, are you able to hear us on that one and speak on there? It does not look like we're able to hear you at the moment. So I'm going to also undo your phone here. So Mr. Walsh, when for your telephone, it is *6 to unmute yourself. And once you do so, please state your name for the record, and I will announce when you have 30 seconds remaining. And again, that's *6 to unmute. Mr. Walsh, are you able to unmute the telephone? It is a *6 to unmute on your telephone.
There we go.
Hello,
There
can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Sorry, I think my kid is getting a better education in Zoom than I am. Hello, thank you for taking my comments. My name is John Walsh. I have been a resident of the Mendocino 95460 zip code for going on 20 years now. I have a kid at the high school as well as a spouse on the administration. Furthermore, I've been involved in the building trades myself since I was in high school. So we're going on 30 years or more now for that. And I just wanted to comment saying that I think the idea of maximizing the dollar for the utility of the building is a great idea. I'm certainly not saying just pour a concrete prison here, but you know, this is a very exposed location. There's a lot of weather considerations, and you know, there's the funding for this is going to be huge, and asking for more dollars for specialized, you know, construction materials is a little bit out of the realm of, I don't know, proper etiquette, I would say. There's not a structure up here that currently is historic in any way. And so requiring that the new building meets some kind of historical standard doesn't make any sense whatsoever in my mind. And so I just hope that, you know, I'm excited to hear that this project is moving forward. There is funding available, and that money should be best used for making the best, long-lasting, most useful facility. And I think I joined the meeting late. It was very late getting the details for how to join, any rate. But some of the comments about wildfire and this being an emergency shelter location, etc., all those things are very true and valid and should be considered for how the building is built and pertaining to how it's going to be used. We need this building to be here should there be a large wildfire event on the coast. And a wood-sided structure isn't going to do well in those conditions, whereas a hardy board or something else, that's what it's made for. That is what I just put in a house, my own house, out Gordon Lane, and we're required to use hardy board construction to meet the wildland fire interface building codes. So,
Mr. Walsh, you have 30 seconds remaining.
Okay, thank you. I don't think I have much more to add, but thank you for your time, and just hope to see this project move forward as unhindered as possible, and with its, you know, effectiveness being the top priority. If I can recall, the purview of the Historical Review Board is to preserve historical elements that exist in the district. And as I said before, I don't think that there is anything whatsoever up here on the high school grounds that is of historical significance. So putting restrictions on the building of the new, things like the lighting and stuff makes sense, but making them use more costly materials just so they fit some kind of unrelatable purview does not make sense. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Walsh. Any other thoughts from the board? Comments, questions? Okay,
Well,
hearing, go ahead.
Yeah, well, I'm just wondering if we could have Mark comment on the gazebo issue and also on the idea of perhaps having changing the entrance to the school, somewhat minor changes such as the lettering and maybe a steeper gable and a gable ornament. I wonder what his thoughts are on that.
Thank you, Mr. Kaplan. Would it be all right with you that Mr. Roth, go ahead and proceed?
Yes, please.
Thank you. I actually took notes of everything that was said. I support, and we have taken images of the murals. We will record that most definitely. Just to confirm the question that was asked, yes, the lighting, all the exterior lighting on the campus will be on timers because the district is as sensitive as the board is on that topic. And just to confirm, yes, the solar panels that are still shown on the renderings are not part of this application. We will come back to the board with an integrated, holistic conversation about the solar panels as a complete separate application, as well as the other buildings on the site. And the question was asked about the roof materials and building colors. The roof materials will be maintained as composition shingles. And the building colors are drawn from the historic and off-white series by Benjamin Moore. And that's what's noted on our drawings. The gazebo, and I really appreciate Mr. Kapler's comment, Ms. Madrigal's comment on that. And I have the same feeling. I'm loath to remove a building or part of a campus that's used. The reason for this is schools fall under the Division of State Architect. We're exempt from local building department rules. Division of State Architect has much more restrictive requirements for buildings, as we see for hospitals. I had a lot of years of working on historic buildings, buildings built in the 20s and 30s that predate the codes in place. And the upgrade requirements to bring buildings that don't meet the seismic upgrades to current standards can be monumental. Our structural engineer, and we looked at that structure, and it was not built with Division of State Architect approval. It was built, I believe, in the early 2000s. And at the time was not built with the DSA or Division of State Architect approval. The process to do the work is more expensive than replacing it with a DSA or a Field Act compliant building. We have to excavate the footings. We would have to, do X-ray testing to prove where the rebar is. There's a geotechnical report that we're required underneath it. All the joints, while they look good to all of us, don't meet the seismic requirements. There's lateral resistant problems with it. So it would require actually replacing of it. And there just wasn't money in the budget to put a structure there. It was the interest of the district that happened, but it is unsavable in a public school setting. And I'm very sorry to say, despite our efforts and our experience doing such things, we couldn't do that. Any other, before I move on, I certainly want to make sure I've adequately answered that. Are there other thoughts or questions about that?
Lauren?
Okay, and I'm sorry about that. I appreciate the community's comment, the community members' comment, and what I wrote was a nod to the Victorian architecture, gable ornament, letter styles, and a steeper gable. And I'll sort of answer those one at a time. The steeper gable is the most difficult for us to comply with. We're matching an existing slope. And so putting on a steeper slope actually creates a really interesting, and it's done, but it creates a really peculiar angle. And it's not consistent with the rest of the building. If you look at the gables that are out there now, we're using that slope that's there. I appreciate the interest in a kind of a Victorian look. However, the building of itself isn't really of a Victorian style. If anything, I think of it, you know better than me, the sort of styles that we see out there, from sort of Maine salt boxes to, you know, nearly Queen Anne and certainly Victorian style buildings. If you sort of look at this building and look at how we treat ornamentation, it doesn't lend itself to be, you know, to adding corbels and elements like that. So it felt to us to be more true to the style that we're making allusion to. Again, remember, this is a mid-century modern building to which we're taking advantage of some sloping roofs, using some horizontal siding, adding more sloped roofs, but it really calls to be a simpler, less ornamented building than perhaps if it was the original late 1800 school that was there many years ago before the new one was built. So I would advise against trying to ornament it. However, I do like the idea of the font that we use. I'm looking at our rendering here, and candidly, we just sort of used a Helvetica or a similar font. I actually like the idea of looking for perhaps a serif or something that's a little more historic in nature. That feels right for this building without feeling like we're becoming decorative. So of those suggestions, I think that's one that would really resonate. But the other two, I just don't see how those could work.
Thank you.
And then the last was the comment. I'm sorry, I just want to go through the comments about not seeing much from town. We really agree with that, and there's Madrigal's comment about that. But I also really agree that the view from the headlands, when you see all those pieces and pieces of metal and all the wiring I pointed out, having all those things disappear, I agree. This will positively affect the view from the headlands, even though most of the rest of it's not seen from town. I believe I covered all the comments, but please let me know if not.
Thank you. Any more board comments, thoughts, questions?
No, I think the one that struck me about the Victorian comment was as I thought about it, I think Mark is right. If you just stuck some ornaments on that one gabled end, it doesn't mesh with the rest of the building. So I agree with that. So I wouldn't push for that.
And it's a school and it reads as a school. It's a mid-century school.
Yeah.
And Mark probably has a little bit of experience doing this.
More than I do.
So Chair
Okay.
Roth, I've been hearing the comments and I just want to offer a few considerations to the review board. So in the
Yes, please.
staff report that was prepared for the February 1st MHRB meeting, obviously the approved permit will specify that the approval is solely based on phase 1 of the project, which is for the main campus building and does not include solar arrays, et cetera. But the conditions that were recommended in that report, I believe, are still pertinent. So primarily on condition number 7 that was recommended, this was about outdoor lighting, and it states outdoor lighting shall be shielded, illumination shall be reflected downward and positioned in a manner that does not allow light glare to extend beyond the property boundaries. And I would recommend, based upon the discussion here, that perhaps an addition to that condition would be that lighting shall be on a timer or motion sensor, just to make sure that that is clear and explicit. Then condition 9, which was already included on the staff report, does require exterior paint colors to be in conformance with the policy as previously discussed and approved by the review board. And then staff recommends an additional condition, which would be condition number 10, requiring that the roofing materials be of composition shingles. And I believe I captured most of the discussion, but please let me know if there's anything additional you would seek to add.
I think my comment on the lighting was less about the downward exterior lighting than it was on the street lights on the two streets, the two ramps running to the building. So that was more my concern, because the building is a fair way away from everybody. And then again, I would, and I know it's been done, but maybe we should document it, that somehow the murals have got to be captured in terms of photographs or whatever. So there's some historical reference to that, because I think they're really interesting. And it would be a shame if there was, I understand you can't stay, but it would be a shame if they just disappeared into nothing, as it were. So
a suggestion could be to have a condition number 11 that photographic documentation of the mural shall be provided to Planning and Building Services as well as to the Kelly House Museum. I'm unsure if they would like to have that, but we could have that on file in our Spherico files.
Yep. They might want to hang them in the school too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Planner Chair, did you have something you want to add?
No, I was just going to suggest what Julia also suggested.
Okay.
That they be photographed and shared with the Kelly House Museum as part of an archive record of the exterior appearance of the school.
Great. So we have 11 conditions from the original staff report as modified by staff just now. Is there anyone interested in making a motion to this effect?
I'd be happy to make the motion, but I'm looking for guidance on the language. I believe it will be approving the permit given the 11 conditions as just stated.
That's sufficient. Do you have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Staff, can we do roll call, please?
Absolutely. So Board Member Madrigal,
Aye.
Board Member Saunders,
Aye.
Board Member Kapler,
I,
and Chair Roth.
Aye, and congratulations. We look forward to having you have a successful and wonderful project to improve that top of the hill.
Thank you. Look forward to having you at the ribbon cutting when this is all
Great.
over. Thank you
Ian,
for the time. We're very grateful for the board support.
Okay, yeah. Home?
I just wanted to make one more comment. I know that we're going to discuss some of the other issues, the other buildings at future meetings, but I just wanted to stress that there are at least 3 points here that are of concern to me. And so I'm just giving a heads up to the applicants that I'd like them to address these issues. One has to do with the removal of the cypress trees. I'm concerned about that. I am very concerned about the solar panels, and I'm wondering whether or not they've considered the idea of Tesla tiles instead. And I am also concerned about the demolition of the MCN building. Seems to me it's a 100-year-old building, and I think we need a lot more information and rationale before we can agree to something like that. So I think those are 3 things that we definitely will need to take up at future meetings. And I'm just giving Mark and the applicants in general a heads up that those, I think, are going to be important issues for the future.
Thank you, Board Member Kaplan.
Very helpful.
Okay. Well, thank you, and keep us posted. We look forward to seeing you for the balance of the phases.
Thank you again.
You bet. Okay. Brings us to agenda item number 10A, matters from the board. I wanted to, something I forgot earlier. If you haven't seen it yet, the second building off of the corner of Ukiah and Howard Street has the solar panels up. So we can see what that looks like in real time. And actually there are 2 guys on the roof they were installing, and I got their attention. I gave them a big thumbs up, and they said, "Hey, Ian Roth, right?" Pretty
You're
funny,
infamous.
I know, right? But that is up and is installed. So go by and take a look at it.
Can you
And
say again where that is?
It's on Howard Street, uphill of the intersection Ukiah and Howard, on the, is it the southwest, northwest corner?
Yeah, it'd be the north.
Thank you.
And it's the second building. There's a building right on the corner, and then on the same property, there's one right behind it, Power Street. And it's on that building. And then the other piece was, I think you all got a call from Deborah Lennox, one of our local architects in town. There's an application at the very end of Albion Street towards MCCSD, that end of town, towards the water. There's I can't remember the address, but it was the lot with all the dilapidated buildings that were falling apart.
4150, I think.
Yeah. So the previous applicant sold. There's going to be a new applicant, and that's going to be on our April, I believe, on our April agenda. And if you want to tour the site again, get hold of Deborah, and she can walk you through it. The applicant will be up maybe between now and then, not sure, but it's worth another sort of walking through and seeing what's going on. So just a heads up. And I don't know what else do we have on our April agenda?
I believe we have one other project as well that is a project that the review board has seen previously, but is returning back with slight modifications. And Juliana may have additional details to share on that.
I think there might also be a sign permit application. There's either 2 or 3. There are 3 projects altogether. The new house on Albion, a sign. I honestly can't remember what the third one is.
I believe we have 2 signs from what I'm understanding, and also that the residents. So
Okay. And then also just to the board members, if there are any things that you think we should discuss or chew on together as a board, this would be a good time to bring them up so we can calendar them for future meetings. Is there anything else from board members that are not on the posted agenda?
No, for me.
I'm not quite prepared to bring this forward just yet, but just to let you guys know that I was contacted today. There's a group that's been installing these bicycle maintenance stations. They fundraised and volunteered these little metal, it's like a small metal bike maintenance thing. They have one in they're going to have one in Fort Bragg, Willits, Ukiah. And they approached me asking if there was a place in Mendocino for one of these bicycle maintenance stations. And I said, well, I'm not sure what would be required as far as what it would need to look like to fit in, but I do know that there's a lot of cyclists in the area. So I had suggested that they reach out to Deborah Lennox because the Rotary Park thing is happening. I don't know if there would potentially be space there, but it was just something interesting that got brought up.
They should probably also contact building and planning staff to find out what regulations there are in and around that, if they formed anything yet or not.
Yeah.
Thank you. Anything else from board members? Okay. 11A, matters from staff. Anything from staff to comment on?
Sure. So I'll lead it off here, and then I'd like to turn it over to Juliana. But I do want to let the review board know that since if you may or may not be aware, we have had some resignations within our office, which has resulted in my role changing slightly. So I am letting you know that I will no longer be in attendance at these meetings, and I will be turning all duties back over to Juliana Cherry. We will have another staff member assigned as well. And while I'll come if there's any sort of contentious items that you would like my support on, or from the director level, then I'm more than happy to attend, but just will not be able to attend on a regular basis.
Does this mean you're going to be the director of planning and building services?
Well, no, actually, in January, I was promoted to the assistant director of the department. So I'm elated. I'm very excited about it. But with the resignations of a senior planner as well as our cannabis program manager, I have been fulfilling those roles in addition to my regular responsibilities. So my time has become very thin, and I just know that I can't quite continue with the level of support that needs to be given to MHRB. So Juliana has graciously agreed to take over my role, and will be providing additional support staff to work beneath her as well.
Well, congratulations to both of you. We're going to miss you, Julia.
Well, thank you. And like I said, I'm not going anywhere. I'm still with the committee, so you guys can let me know if there's anything contentious you need to attend for. So
thank you.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And with that, I do believe Juliana also had a topic to discuss.
So I just wanted to briefly talk about packets that the review board receives and kind of explain how we assemble the packets. For the last several years, we've been posting packets on the internet. So we do take all of the information that we receive and create a PDF and post that to the internet. And the administrative staff very kindly makes a copy of those packets and mails them to you. At the same time, when someone applies, we ask them to provide us full scale drawings, if it's say a new home or something like that, or 11 by 17 plans. And we ask for a sufficient number of copies so that we can give you these larger size plans for your review. So you're not looking at an 8.5 by 11 reduction or a PDF on your computer monitor. So next month, you can anticipate receiving these additional copies that the applicant provides for you. You might feel like they're duplicative, and in some ways they are, but it really has to do with how we communicate with the applicant about information that's necessary for you to review the information about the changes within town, and also how we go about assembling packets. It's really a 2-office effort and a team effort. While I write the staff reports and assemble those documents that were filed with the application in the Fort Bragg office, everything then is routed over to Ukiah, and James Feenan and his colleagues assemble all the information so that they can be published on the website, sent to you in a timely fashion. Notices can be posted. And so it's really a team effort of multiple staff members. So look forward, the project on Albion Street, you should be getting a larger size plan set for that project. And also, I believe the sign permits, you should be getting, say, a color copy. The applicant, I believe, provided color renderings of what the signs will look like.
Right.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, I mean, personally, I would say that I really appreciate the bigger plans because they're much easier to read and look at.
Yes.
So from that point of view, I've ended up, I think, with 3 copies of the school now, though I'm not quite sure how. But if it, just personally, I don't know how the other board members feel, if it was an advantage just to do the memos as PDFs on a computer, I would be quite happy to just take those electronically, if that makes life any easier for you. But that's just me, so.
Well, maybe we could poll all the review board members. If you could raise your hand if you prefer PDF over paper. It looks like maybe.
And if I may, I think for actually our staff, it is easier to actually assemble a complete packet than to bifurcate the production of the documents. So,
like I said, my comment was only if it's easier for you.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter to me. So it's.
Yeah, it's true that the staff assembles more than just packets for you. There are packets that are delivered to the library and the community center. There are packets that go to staff. There's packets that go to the CEO's office.
If it's easier for you, then ignore my comment.
So they're really just running copies and then putting them in the appropriate envelopes for mailing or distribution. And they're doing a really great job at that.
Having done some of the stuff myself, Julia, I appreciate your comment. It can get really messy if you have to say, well, I got to put this with this and that with that, and not with that. Then it's much easier just to, Okay, thank you.
So with the application packets, we do ask for 3 sets of full-size plans. I keep one in with me, and then I send the other 2 remaining ones to the chair and co-chair. And if I have any others that are large, I'll send them to the other review board members. That's sort of how the large size plans get distributed. If you're having a hard time looking at a reduced set, say 11 by 17, you could certainly call the chair or co-chair and ask them if they've received a larger set, and you can go over and check them out with them, or come into my office. I'm sorry, review board member Madrigal, did you have a question as well?
Yes, I was just going to say that I prefer paper, especially when we're in the meeting where I can actually look at it. That's just my preference, but I also do have multiple copies at the school, which I was going to say I could return to you, but then the visuals actually are now inaccurate. So you probably don't want to have, because now we're taking the solar panels off of that, process. So there's probably no point in me returning that to you, but I do have 2 sets now if you need them.
And I will just tell you, for every set you have, I probably have double that. So, So, and then I do just want to also note, since we're on the subject of packets, that a previous direction from the review board had been for referral packets that are coming to you, like such as for a coastal development permit or a use permit within the town. Those have typically just been posted online, and I understood from the review board in the past not wanting to see a printed packet of that. So if that direction has changed, please let us know, because you will have a referral on your April agenda.
Okay.
I think we're fine.
So the referral on the April agenda will be available only online.
That's fine.
Yes, okay, all right. Any other things I can answer about packets?
Is it safe to assume that if we needed additional information or wanted to see a review packet or a referral, that we could contact the department and set that up?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. My role is to provide support to the four of you and the public who have questions. If you need any documents, I'm happy to make them available to you, and I can mail them. I can hand deliver them. I can email you them, whatever is easiest for you.
Thank you. Anything else from staff or board?
I just want
Okay.
to thank you again for having me and your patience as I learn the ropes of this new this new board. So I am keeping an eye out for people that I think would be good in this position. And I also forgot to mention in my bio that I publish a local food magazine called Word of Mouth. And so if anyone wants any copies of that's the other hat that I wear that I forgot to mention.
A closet full of hats. Thank you. Well, we've come to that bewitching time. Agenda item number 12, adjournment. It is now 3:16. Do you have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second, anyone? Thank you. Oh, do we need roll call? We can just raise our hands. Raise your hands if you're in favor. Great. Have a great April. We'll see you, or great March. We'll see you in April.
All right.
Okay.
Take care.
Vaccinated by then.
Thank you.
That's the 5th, right? The next one, April. Is it the first Monday?
Monday of the month.
First Monday of the month. Yeah.
Great. See you then.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.